Good morning. This is PJ. It is Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. We're here today for our daily lectionary readings. We have our three readings once again. Psalm 36 is our psalm reading. We have the same psalm Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Our Old Testament reading comes from the book of Genesis 47, 13 through 26. And our gospel reading today comes from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 8, verses 14 through 21. Let us listen in to our words today. Psalm 36. The God rebel tunes in to sedition, all ears, eager to sin. He has no regard for God. He stands insolent before him. He has smooth-talked himself into believing that his evil will never be noticed. Words gutter from his mouth, dishwater dirty. Can't remember when he did anything decent. Every time he goes to bed, he fathers another evil plot. When he's loose on the street, nobody's safe. He plays with fire and doesn't care who gets burned. God's love is meteoric. His loyalty, astronomic. His purpose, titanic. His verdict, oceanic. Yet, in the largeness, nothing gets lost. Not a man, not a mouse, slips through the cracks. How exquisite your love, God. How eager we are to run under your wings, to eat our fill at the banquet you spread, and fill our tankards with Eden spring waters. You're a fountain of cascading light, and you open our eyes to light. Keep on loving your friends. Do your work in welcoming hearts. Don't let the bullies kick me around. The moral midgets slap me down. Send the upstart sprawling, flat on their face in the mud. Our Old Testament reading today comes from the book of Genesis, chapter 47. It's verses 13 through 26. The time eventually came when there was no food anywhere. The famine was very bad. Egypt and Canaan alike were devastated by the famine. Joseph collected all the money that was to be found in Egypt and Canaan to pay for the distribution of food. He banked the money in Pharaoh's palace. When the money from Egypt and Canaan had run out, the Egyptians came to Joseph. Food! Give us food! Are you going to watch us die right in front of you? The money is all gone. Joseph said, bring your livestock. I'll trade you food for livestock since your money's run out. So they brought Joseph their livestock. He traded them food for their horses, sheep, cattle, and donkeys. He got them through that year in exchange for all of their livestock. When the year was over, the next year rolled around and they were back saying, Master, it's no secret to you that we're broke. Our money's gone and we traded you our livestock. We've nothing left to barter with but our bodies and our farms. What we use are our bodies and our land, but if we stand here and starve to death and right in front of you, trade us food for our bodies and our land. We'll be slaves to Pharaoh and give up our land. All we ask is seed for survivor, just enough to live on and keep the farms alive. So Joseph bought up all the farms for Egypt for Pharaoh. Every Egyptian sold his land. The famine was that bad. That's how Pharaoh ended up owning all of the land, and the people ended up slaves. Joseph reduced the people to slavery from one end of Egypt to the other. Joseph made an exception for the priest. He didn't buy their land because they received a fixed salary from Pharaoh and were able to live off of that salary. So they didn't need to sell their land. Joseph then announced to the people, here's how things stand. I bought you and your land for Pharaoh. In exchange, I'm giving you seed so you can plant the ground. When the crops are harvested, you must give a fifth to Pharaoh and keep 4/5 for yourself. For seed for yourself and your families, you're going to be able to feed your children." They said, "You saved our lives, Master. We are grateful and glad to be slaves to Pharaoh." Joseph decreed a land law in Egypt that is still in effect. A fifth goes to Pharaoh. Only the priest's lands were not owned by Pharaoh. Our New Testament reading today comes from the book of Mark, the Gospel of Mark, chapter 8, verses 14 through 21. Hear the Gospel. He then left them, got back in the boat, and headed for the other side. But the disciples forgot to pack a lunch, except for a single loaf of bread. There wasn't a crumb in the boat. Jesus warned, "Be very careful. Keep a sharp eye out for the contaminating yeast of Pharaoh's and the followers of Herod." Meanwhile, the disciples were finding fault with each other because they had forgotten to bring bread. And Jesus overheard and said, "Why are you fussing because you forgot bread? Don't you see the point of all of this? Don't you get it at all? Remember the 5 loaves I broke for the 5,000? How many baskets of leftovers did you pick up?" They said, 12. "And the 7 loaves for the 4,000? How many bags full of leftovers did you get?" 7. And he said, "Do you still not get it?" Here ends our readings for the day. Have a beautiful day.